The courthouse doors burst open. An 8-year-old boy runs toward the judge's bench, crying, barely able to stay on his feet. "Please, please help my mama," he sobs. Security moves in, but Judge Judy raises her hand. The boy points at the defendant. His voice trembles as he reveals a truth he was never meant to share. The courtroom falls silent. His mother's face drains of color. What the judge uncovers next doesn't just expose a light tears apart a carefully hidden family secret and leaves everyone in the courtroom shaken, especially the boy himself. Before it goes any further, think about this. Where are you watching from? Share it in the comments and subscribe for more shocking courtroom moments. The gavel hangs suspended, ready to strike as the boy's shaking finger lifts toward the defendant. No one breathes, not even her. The 8-year-old stands there, chest rising and falling, eyes red, trying to be strong but struggling with every uneven breath. Judge Judy signals for the bailiff to step back and leans slightly forward. The overhead lights catching the faint trace of tears still drying on the boy's cheeks. "Take your time," she says gently. Her voice is steady, yet the weight of the moment presses down on the room. It is not often that a child becomes the keeper of the truth. The boy swallows hard. She told me not to say anything," he whispers, pointing again, his hand shaking like a leaf in the wind. The defendant shifts in her chair and forces a smile too quick, too bright, the kind worn by someone afraid of what comes next. "I never talked to that child," she blurts. He's confused. Judge Judy turns her eyes toward the defendant with a stillness that makes even adults forget how to breathe. "Nobody asked you anything?" she says. Her voice cuts through the room with calm authority, not anger. Just truth, heavy enough to land like a stone. The mother sits at the plaintiff's table, pale as though the light avoids her. She shakes her head slightly, silently pleading with her son to stop. Her hands grip together so tightly that her knuckles turn white. Shame, fear, exhaustion, every emotion flickers across her face before she lowers her eyes. But the boy sees her, and something inside him breaks. "She said if I talked, something bad would happen to Mommy." His voice cracks. The words come out small and quiet, but devastating. Soft gasps ripple through the gallery. Even the bailiff shifts uneasily. The defendant's false smile disappears. That's not he's making things up, but the boy continues, as if the truth has finally found the courage to speak through him. "And she said Mommy had to do what she told her." He clasps his hands together, twisting his fingers as if trying to hold together everything falling apart inside him. Judge Judy watches him with a stillness that feels like a lens tightening, capturing every detail, the shake in his voice, the guilt in his posture, the fear in his eyes. "Who told you to stay quiet?" she asks, her voice gentle but firm. The boy presses his lips together, tears forming again, then nods toward the defendant. Panic slips into her voice as she shakes her head sharply. No, that's not what happened. He misunderstood." Judge Judy raises her hand. Silence falls instantly, and in that silence the courtroom braces itself. The boy has revealed only part of what he carries, and everyone senses the rest will shatter far more than lies. The judge leans in, her eyes narrowing. "Tell me," she says, "what else did she make you keep secret?" The boy's last words still tremble in the air as he lowers his gaze to the floor, as if speaking even one more truth might cause the ground to open beneath him. Judge Judy watches closely. Something fragile has begun to unravel. The bailiff, guided by instinct rather than procedure, brings over a small chair. Judge Judy nods, allowing the boy to sit not as a witness, not as evidence, but as a child caught in the crossfire of adult choices. His feet barely reach the floor. His hands remain clasped in his lap, as though he fears they might betray him too. "Take a breath," Judge Judy murmurs. You are safe in here. But safety is a complicated word in this room. The mother sits stiffly at the plaintiff's table, staring downward, her shoulders folding inward as if the truth weighs heavier on her than fear ever did. Tears gather at the corners of her eyes, but she refuses to let them fall. Her silence is not empty. It is a shield built from years of surviving quietly. Judge Judy turns her attention to the defendant. You said you never spoke to this boy, yet he says you warned him not to talk. I am giving you the chance to explain that difference. The defendant laughs, too sharp, too quick, and completely wrong for the moment. Kids imagine things. You know how they are emotional, dramatic. Stop. Judy's voice cuts through the act with surgical precision. Children may misunderstand adult arguments, but they do not invent fear this specific. The defendant's jaw tightens. Her eyes flick away not toward Judge Judy, but toward the mother. There is no anger in that look. It is ownership, control, a silent message the mother instantly understands, shrinking further into her seat. Judge Judy notices. The camera notices. Everyone notices. Ma'am, Judy says gently, turning to the mother, I need your voice here. Did this woman ever tell your son not to speak? The mother opens her mouth, then closes it. She tries again, but her breath catches and her shoulders shake. Her hands twist together, knuckles whitening under the strain. I don't want trouble, she finally whispers. The defendant steps forward with sudden confidence, almost victorious. See? She knows this is being blown out of proportion. Sit down, Judge Judy orders, without raising her voice. The defendant freezes. The judge studies the mother again, her eyes narrowing with experience, intuition, and something deeper recognition. She has seen this kind of silence before. It belongs to someone living under steady, quiet pressure. The kind that doesn't bruise skin, but bruises the spirit. Judge Judy leans back, thinking, then turns toward the clerk. I need the document the boy mentioned. A wave of anxiety moves through the room. The defendant stiffens. The mother's face loses its color. Even the boy's breathing falters. The judge taps her pen once, decisively. Bring me the file, she says. The one neither of you wanted me to see. The moment the defendant opens her mouth to explain, the mother flinches so sharply it looks like a bruise from an old memory has just been struck. Judge Judy notices. Everyone notices. The defendant's voice slices through the tension, wrapped in false sympathy. Your Honor, she asks, overwhelmed. She doesn't understand. Judge Judy raises one finger. A single motion. Silence obeys. I did not ask you, she says, her tone calm but edged with unmistakable warning. The defendant's mouth snaps shut, though her eyes still burn with the confidence of someone who believes she can take control back. But control has already shifted. The judge turns to the mother. Ma'am, I asked whether this woman ever told your son to stay silent. Her voice softens, not from pity, but from understanding. She sees the exhaustion in the mother's posture, the fear in the way her fingers pull at her sleeves. The years of swallowing truth until silence becomes habit. The mother tries to speak, but her throat tightens. Her lips part, tremble, then close again. She presses her hands together as if holding herself upright in front of the world. Her voice is barely audible. She swallows, eyes still lowered. I don't want trouble. The judge studies her for a long, quiet moment. Maybe trouble found you, she says gently. Across the room, the boy watches his mother with a kind of heartbreak that belongs to someone far older. He shifts forward in his small chair, searching her face for courage, for honesty, for something familiar. He doesn't find it. Not yet. Seeing the mother struggle, the defendant steps forward again, confidence creeping back into her voice. Your Honor, she gets anxious. She misremembers. I help her with things, forms, decisions, responsibilities. She depends on me. The mother's eyes lift for a split second. Just one flicker, one glance, but it tells a completely different story. Dependence is not the word. What hides in that look is closer to captivity. Judge Judy catches it instantly. "Ma'am," she asks the mother, "are you speaking freely right now?" The mother's breath catches. Her shoulders tense, and she folds inward as if privacy might somehow return to this public room. Tears threaten again, but she fights them, blinking rapidly. "I am fine," she whispers. She is not fine. The entire courtroom feels it. Then, like a shadow passing over the sun, the defendant shifts her weight, leaning subtly toward the mother. It is not an open threat, but the mother reacts to it, shrinking just slightly. That is all the judge needs to see. "Clerk," Judge Judy says, her voice sharp and clear, "bring me the folder referenced by the child." The air tightens instantly. The defendant stiffens, the color draining from her smug expression. The mother closes her eyes, her shoulders curling inward as if bracing for a blow. The boy grips the edges of his chair, small knuckles turning white. He knows that file. He knows what it means. Judge Judy places her hand on the desk, steady as stone. When this folder opens, she says quietly, the truth opens with it. The moment the clerk enters with the folder, the courtroom's atmosphere changes. Not colder, heavier. As if truth itself has weight. The bailiff sets the file gently on the bench, but even that soft sound feels loud, final. Across the room, both women react as though a ticking bomb has been placed between them. The defendant straightens abruptly, spine rigid, hands clasped too tightly. Her eyes lock onto the folder with a mix of dread and calculation, already rewriting her story in her mind. The mother does not look at it at all. She closes her eyes instead, shoulders folding inward. It is the posture of someone who has lived with fear for so long she learned to brace before knowing what is coming. And the boy, his breath catches, his eyes widen. His feet stop swinging beneath a chair. He knows this folder. He knows it means someone is finally listening. Judge Judy draws the file toward her and opens it with deliberate calm. Pages whisper against each other, the sound cutting through the silence. Her expression barely shifts, but the courtroom feels it, the tightening. The realization that something inside these pages does not match the story they were told. The defendant cannot endure the silence any longer. "Your Honor, I can explain." "No." Judge Judy replies without looking up. "You will wait." With that single sentence, all the power drains from the defendant's voice, leaving her stranded in her own anxiety. The judge lifts one page, then another, and then she stops. At the bottom of a form sits a signature, sharp, crooked, hurried, a name that should not be there. A signature that was never legally authorized to sign anything. "Interesting," Judy says softly. The defendant's breath falters. It was standard authorization. Authorization you forged. The judge's voice hardens just enough to make the defendant freeze. "This document gives you control over her financial decisions, her private information, and her legal rights." Her gaze finally lifts, sharp as a blade. All without a single valid supporting form. Gasps ripple through the room. Even the gallery shifts back, as if the truth itself gives off heat. "I was helping," the defendant insists, her voice cracking. She isn't good with paperwork. She needed structure. "And you provided it by signing her name for her," Judy replies, "by giving yourself authority she never granted." She leans forward. This is manipulation, coercion, and fraud. The mother's face collapses. Silent tears fall, not loud, not dramatic, just years of fear escaping through a single crack. The boy looks between them, confusion turning into understanding. Understanding into heartbreak. Judge Judy lowers the page. Her voice grows quiet, dangerously quiet. "This signature," she says, tapping the forged name with one finger, "changes everything about this case." She turns the document toward the defendant. "Explain to me why your handwriting is on her legal rights." The defendant laughs, too loud, too sharp. Too desperate, the kind of laugh people use when they feel the ground shifting beneath them. And today, the ground is shaking hard. Judge Judy does not flinch. She remains still, letting the nervous laughter echo until it dies on its own, brittle and awkward. The silence that follows feels colder than any reprimand. "I was helping her," the defendant repeats, forcing steadiness into her cracking voice. "She needed someone. She was overwhelmed. Look at her. She can't manage things alone." The mother shrinks in her seat, as if the words physically strike her. Judge Judy turns sharply toward the defendant. "Do not speak about her as if she is not here," she says. "You will address me, and only me." The defendant opens her mouth, but shock locks her jaw. She is no longer controlling the narrative. Judge Judy taps the forged document once, deliberately. "You helped her by signing legal rights that do not belong to you. That is fraud. That is coercion. And it is absolutely not your decision to make." The mother's breath stutters, a quiet sound weighted with years of swallowed fear. "I didn't understand the papers," she whispers. "She told me I had to sign. She said it was required for my case, for my son. And you believed her." Judy asks gently. The mother nods, eyes shining. "I wanted to do the right thing. I wanted stability." The defendant steps forward, urgency rising in her voice. "Your Honor, she's exaggerating. She always needs reassurance. I only stepped in when she couldn't handle her life. She was lucky I offered my help." "Lucky?" The word lands like an insult in the room. Judy's gaze tightens. "So you took advantage of her vulnerability?" "No," the defendant protests. "I gave her structure. She would be lost without me." The boy suddenly rises from his chair, fists clenched at his sides. "She was scared of you," he blurts, his voice shaking. "You yelled at her? You told her what she could do. You said she had to listen, or else." His mother reaches for him, but he steps back, his heart racing. He has carried this truth far too long for someone his size. The defendant's mask slips completely. "He is lying," she shouts, but her voice breaks on the final word. Judge Judy brings her palm down on the bench, not violent, but firm enough to stop everything. "Enough," she commands. "Your panic tells me far more than your words." The defendant's mouth opens, searching for another excuse, another performance, but nothing comes. For the first time, she looks small-cornered, exposed. Judge Judy turns back to the mother, her voice steady. "Were you afraid of her?" The mother's breath catches. Her eyes close. Her shoulders fold inward, and on the exhale, barely audible, comes the truth. Yes, the room absorbs the word like a shock wave. Judge Judy leans forward. "Then we need to see everything she has been hiding." The word "yes" still hangs in the air, fragile as glass, as the defendant steps back, as though publicly unmasked. But it is the mother's trembling silence, not the defendant's panic, that draws every eye. Some truths break loudly. Others break by accident. Judge Judy studies the mother with a rare softness in her eyes. "Thank you," she says quietly. "Honesty is not easy when fear has lived in your home." The mother's shoulders shake. She wipes her eyes quickly, ashamed of the emotion she cannot hold back. The defendant seizes the moment, her voice rising with desperate indignation. "Your Honor," she is distressed. She's confused. She always gets like this when she feels cornered. You can't take her words seriously. Judge Judy lifts her gaze, calm, cold, unmovable. "Sit down." The defendant sits, not because she wants to, but because something inside her understands that resisting this judge will only expose more. Judge Judy turns to the mother once again. "You said you were afraid. I need to understand why." The mother opens her mouth, but her voice breaks before a single word escapes. She presses her fingers against her lips, as if holding back everything she has never allowed herself to say. It is the boy who speaks instead. She always cried after talking to her," he whispers, pointing at the defendant. "She would go into a room and lock the door. She told me it was just stress, but that is not what it looked like." The mother closes her eyes, humiliation darkening her cheeks. The defendant scoffs. Children misread things all the time. Judge Judy turns sharply. Children recognize fear better than adults admit, and today he is the clearest voice in this room. The mother finally finds her voice, a thin, trembling thread. "I just wanted things to calm down. She said she would help me. She said she would make things easier. I did not want to disappoint her." "Disappoint her?" Judy repeats. "She is not your guardian. She is not your authority. Why would you fear disappointing someone who has no legal power over you?" The mother's face collapses inward. "Because she made me feel like I could not manage without her." The defendant leans forward, voice sharp. "Because you could not. I organized your paperwork, your finances, your threats." The boy interrupts, voice cracking. "You threatened Mommy." The defendant jerks back, as if the child slapped her. "That is a lie." Judy's hand rises again. Silence snaps into place. "I want access to all communication between the two of you," she says. "Texts, emails, voicemails, everything." The defendant's face drains of color. "There is no need for that." "There is," Judy answers. "Your reactions today tell me more truth than your words." The mother trembles. The boy holds her hand, courage blooming where fear once lived. Everything that has been hidden, every message, every threat, every manipulation knows suddenly on the edge of exposure. Judge Judy nods to the clerk. "Pull the records. Let us see the conversations she never thought would surface." If you were sitting in that courtroom, would you step in to defend the truth or stay silent and hope someone else would? The screens flicker awake, cold blue lights splashing across faces already tight with dread. For a moment, no one moves. It is the stillness before a storm, the kind that does not arrive with thunder, but with truth. Judge Judy nods again. Display the messages. The first text appears a short sentence, only 5 words. But those 5 words drain the remaining color from the mother's face. "Do not embarrass me again." A murmur ripples through the courtroom. The defendant shifts in her seat, trying to appear unaffected, but her fingers betray her, tapping a frantic rhythm against her arm. "Your Honor, people say things in frustration." She was emotional. "I was guiding her." Judy raises one eyebrow, that small. Silent gesture cuts the defendant's defense in half. Next message, the judge orders. Another text appears longer, sharper, dripping with disguised control. "I told you what to say. If you change the story, it will go badly for you. Stick to the plan." The mother covers her mouth. A quiet sob slips out, the kind she spent years hiding behind closed doors. The defendant snaps. She misunderstands context. She panics easily. Judy does not look at her. Continue. More messages flood the screen. A confession written in digital ink. "Why are you questioning me? Do not talk to anyone unless I tell you. Remember what happened last time you disobeyed?" The last one lands like a physical blow. Even the bailiff tenses. The boy looks from the screen to his mother, confusion slowly turning into recognition. These were not adult disagreements. These were chains made of words. Judge Judy leans back, eyes narrowed. "Ms. Carter, These messages show a pattern: control, threats, punishment. Tell me, what do you call this? The defendant's voice wavers. She needed boundaries. She gets overwhelmed. I was keeping her from making mistakes. By frightening her, Judy interrupts. I never frightened her, the defendant insists. Her voice cracking, unraveling like a thread pulled too fast. The judge glances at the boy. Did you ever see your mother scared? He nods slowly. She cried in her room. She would say she just needed a minute, but she always needed more than a minute. A deep, heavy silence settles over the courtroom. Judge Judy turns to the clerk. Show the final message. The last text appears, and the boy is instructed to stay quiet. He does not need to know anything he could use against them. The room stops breathing. The mother's hand flies to her chest. The boy stiffens, his small face contorting with betrayal. The defendant's facade shatters. Panic floods her eyes, raw, animalistic. That message was taken out of context. She gasps. You do not understand what was happening. Judy hits her gavel once, not hard, but final. The only context I care about, she says, is the safety and truth of this family. She leans forward, voice low and surgical. What exactly did you not want this boy to find out? The moment Judge Judy reads the final text aloud, the mother gasps, not softly, not politely, but with the raw sound of someone who has just seen a ghost from her past rise into the room. The defendant swallows hard. The boy pulls into himself, sensing that whatever comes next belongs to him more than anyone. Judge Judy's voice cuts through the silence. Ms. Carter, what secret were you talking about? The defendant glances at the mother, a final attempt at silent intimidation. But the mother does not look away this time. Her fear is still there, trembling at the edges. Something stronger pushes through the instinct to protect her child. I said, Judy repeats, what was the secret? The defendant licks her lips, trying to gather composure. It is complicated. Judy lifts a brow. Complication is not an answer. Tell the truth. The defendant hesitates. Her mask fractures. For a moment, she looks almost human, messy, afraid. Cornered. She never told him, she says, finally, pointing to the boy. She never told him the full story about his father. The boy's eyes widen. The mother closes hers. Judge Judy leans forward. What story? The defendant exhales, like someone surrendering a long-held weapon. The boy thinks his father abandoned him, that he never cared, but that is not true. She kept them apart, the defendant says, shifting her gaze toward the mother. The mother's breath shudders, her hands gripping her knees until her knuckles fade to white. The boy whispers, small, terrified, pleading, Mom, just one word. Judy softens her tone. Is this true? The mother opens her mouth, but no words come. Her lips tremble. Tears gather. Her entire body seems to fold in on itself. It is the posture of a woman carrying a secret so heavy it has reshaped her. The defendant seizes the moment, stepping closer. Tell them, she urges, voice sharp with vindication. Tell him how his father tried to stay in his life. Tell him how you refused every attempt. Tell him you stopped talking. Judge Judy's voice slices through the air like lightning. Ma'am, I need your voice. Is there truth in what she is saying? The mother's breath shakes. She looks at her son, really looks at him, his wide, cracked expression, his trembling chin, the innocence collapsing in his eyes. And then, with a quiet exhale that sounds like surrender, she nods. The courtroom goes still. The boy's face crumples. The defendant steps back, stunned by the weight of her own words. Realizing too late the human damage she has unleashed, Judge Judy closes her eyes briefly. Letting the truth settle, when she opens them, they are sharp with purpose. "You will explain," she says to the mother, "but not now, not yet." She lifts her gavel slightly, not to strike, but to punctuate. "Because before we understand why you hit his father," Judy says, voice low and measured, "we need to understand what role she played in that lie." The defendant's face strains. The boy's tears fall, and the truth prepares to shatter the room again. The defendant's confession still vibrates in the silence when the boy turns toward his mother. Eyes wide, glistening, wounded. The room holds its breath for him, because no child should learn the truth this way. His mother reaches out instinctively, but he flinches back, confusion swirling like a storm in his small chest. You said he did not want me," he whispers. His voice cracks mid-sentence, the sound of innocence collapsing under the weight of adulthood. Her lips tremble. No words, just shame. Judge Judy watches them both, her expression steady but carved with empathy. She has seen heartbreak in courtrooms before, but rarely does it arrive wearing the face of a child. "Miss Carter," Judy says, shifting her attention to the defendant, "you claimed the mother kept the father away. Show me the proof." The defendant hesitates. Her confidence is gone. All that remains is the adrenaline of someone who knows she has crossed a line she never meant to. I have messages, attempts he made, calls she ignored." The mother stiffens as though struck. "Bring them forward," Judy orders. The clerk retrieves another small folder, one far thinner than the last, but somehow heavier with consequence. When the first printout slides into view, the mother buries her face in her hands. A call log, multiple missed attempts, one voicemail transcription. "Please let me see him. I am clean. I have a job now. I know I made mistakes." The boy closes his eyes, pain slicing through him like cold wind. The defendant steps in quickly, her voice trembling but triumphant. "See, she lied to him. Lied to her own son. I only told the truth." Judy turns her head slowly, eyes narrowing with razor precision. "No, you weaponized the truth." Her voice is low, controlled fire. "You used private wounds to gain control over a vulnerable woman. That is not honesty. That is exploitation." The defendant's mouth opens, but no sound comes out. Judy looks at the mother next. "Ma'am, did you block the father's attempts to contact his son?" The mother lowers her hands, her face streaked with tears. I did." Her voice is shredded, trembling. "He hurt me. He left us. He broke everything. And when he came back, I did not trust that he would stay." Her breath shakes. "I thought I was protecting my son." The boy swallows hard. "You did not protect me," he whispers. "You protected yourself." The mother collapses inward, sobbing quietly. Even the defendant looks shaken by the emotional wreckage she helped unleash. Judge Judy lets the silence sit. "Heavy, necessary. We will address the father's involvement later," she says calmly. "Right now, we are focusing on the manipulation inside this courtroom." Her gaze snaps to the defendant once more. "Your involvement in this family's pain is not accidental, and I will uncover every layer of it." Judy leans in, voice soft but deadly precise. "Before we go further, show me all the evidence you have been holding back." The defendant reaches into her folder with shaking fingers, pulling out a thin envelope, creased, worn, and stained at the edges like it has been handled too many times by someone unsure whether to hide it or use it. The entire courtroom feels the shift. Whatever sits in that envelope has been waiting years to speak. Judge Judy gestures. "Place it on the bench." The bailiff takes the envelope carefully and sets it before her. The mother pales immediately, her breath catching as if invisible hands are squeezing her lungs. "Open it," Judy instructs. The flap lifts with a soft tear. Inside lies a single photograph, its colors faded, but its meaning sharp enough to wound. Judy holds it up between two fingers, the image facing her first. A hospital room. Fluorescent lights casting long shadows. A woman, the mother, lying unconscious, an IV in her arm. And beside her on a tray, a stack of papers with a pen forced into her limp hand. The courtroom inhales as one. Judy lowers the photo, her voice still. "Explain this." The defendant straightens, though fear flickers behind her composure. She was overwhelmed. She needed help. She was alone. You drugged her. Judy snaps. "No," the defendant shouts. Then her voice falters. She was medicated from the procedure. She asked me to help her finish the documents. The mother shakes her head violently. "I never asked you," she cries. "I did not even know those papers were there. I woke up and you told me everything was already handled. You said I signed because I wanted stability." "You did," the defendant yells, losing her grip on calm. "You said you needed me, that you could not manage without someone guiding you. I only stepped in because you were incapable." Incapable. Judy repeats softly but dangerously. Or vulnerable. The defendant falters. Judy studies the photo again. The hospital bed, the tubes, the mother's unconscious face. Every detail, a silent accusation. You presented legal papers to a woman who was not conscious, not aware and not capable of consenting. "I was trying to help," the defendant whispers. But the words tremble like a broken lie. "No," Judy says, placing the photo down with reverence. "You were taking advantage." The boy edges closer to his mother, touching her hand gingerly as though he finally understands how much pain she carried alone. Tears stream freely down the mother's face. "You told me it was just insurance forms," she sobs. "You told me everything I signed was for his benefit. I trusted you." The defendant's face contorts. You were a mess. Someone had to take control. Judy's gavel strikes once, silencing the outburst. "You mistook control for compassion," she says. "And that mistake ends today." Judy gestures to the clerk. "Enter this photograph into evidence." The room shifts again. This time, not with shock, but with clarity. The judge fixes her stare on the defendant. "If this is the help you claim to give, then what else have you been hiding about this family's past?" The defendant's breath stutters. Just once, just enough to betray the panic clawing inside her before she tries to pull herself upright again, stitching arrogance back onto her face like a mask she no longer knows how to wear. But masks crack when truth presses hard enough. And Judge Judy is pressing. "Miss Carter," Judy says, voice steady as stone. "These documents, that photograph, your pattern is unmistakable." The defendant forces a shaky smile, the kind born not of confidence, but of desperation. "I was helping her. She depended on me. She trusted me." Judy folds her hands. "Trust requires honesty. You have shown manipulation." The defendant's hands tremble. "You do not understand," she snaps, then softens it instantly, trying to reel back control. "She was drowning. I was the only one keeping her life together." The mother shakes her head, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. "You held everything over me," she whispers. "You made me feel like I was nothing without you." That sentence lands like a blow. The defendant's facade fractures, hairline cracks spreading from her voice to her posture. "I only did that because you were weak," she blurts, and then her eyes widen. Realizing too late what she's admitted, Judge Judy leans forward. "So, she was convenient for you?" "No," the defendant whispers. "She was safe." The boy watches, silent, clinging to his mother's sleeve. His eyes, wide, pleading, wounded, begin to change the energy in the room. The judge notices. So does the defendant. Suddenly, the defendant's voice breaks. "I did not mean to hurt them. I needed someone to need me. I needed control. She swallows hard. Her life was falling apart, and mine was, too. And I latched on because I did not have anyone else. For the first time, her arrogance dissolves into something raw, something painfully human. But truth rarely stops with one confession. Judy tilts her head. If your motives were so benevolent, why involve the boy? Why did your messages reference him? The defendant closes her eyes. Her shoulders sag. Her next words tremble out like a secret she has carried too long. Because he deserved to know the rest. She lied to him too. And I thought if the truth came out, maybe she would finally let go. Maybe she would not need me anymore. Judy's voice sharpens. What truth? The room freezes. The defendant looks at the boy, then at the mother. Her eyes fill, not with manipulation this time, but with guilt. He thinks his father abandoned him, she whispers. But he didn't. The boy stiffens. The mother's breath catches. Judy narrows her gaze. Explain. The defendant inhales sharply. The father tried to come back. He begged. He wanted to be in his son's life, but she points at the mother with trembling fingers. She shut him out. She blocked him. She lied to the boy because she did not want her past to repeat. The boy's face crumples, heartbreak pouring out in a single tiny sob. The mother breaks, reaching for him. I was scared, she cries. I was trying to protect you, but the boy pulls back, tears streaming. The room is silent, heavy, shattered. Judge Judy exhales subtly, a sound heavy with truth. This isn't just about manipulation, she says. It's about a family built on fear and a child finally seeing through the cracks. The boy meets his mother's eyes, and for the first time, he isn't looking up to her. He's looking through her. The boy's tears are still falling when the mother reaches for him again. Slowly, desperately, like she could gather her mistakes in her hands and smooth them flat if she could just touch him. But he leans away, and that tiny movement fractures her completely. Judge Judy watches the moment with a steady, sorrowful gaze. She knows this type of pain, the kind that does not scream. It implodes. Ma'am, Judy says softly, you need to speak. The mother nods, but no words come. Her throat convulses, her breath hitching, her chest rising and falling too fast. Like she's drowning in memories she kept sealed until this second. Her voice breaks on the first sound. She tries again. I thought I was doing the right thing. The boy's eyes glisten, searching her face for something: truth, apology, clarity. She sees it, and it destroys her because she does not know how to give him what he needs without telling him what hurts. Judge Judy leans a bit forward, lowering her tone. Take your time, but he deserves to hear this from you. The mother covers her face, shoulders shaking. Your father, she whispers, her fingers trembling, was a good man once, but he changed. He hurt me. He left. He broke every promise he made. Her hands lower slowly, revealing eyes swimming with grief. When he tried to come back, I didn't believe him. I thought it would happen again. I thought you would get attached, and then he would disappear. And I refused to risk your heart the way mine was broken. The boy stares at her, eyes wide. So, you lied to me. The words hit her like a physical blow. She nods, barely able to breathe. Yes, she chokes. I lied because I was afraid. Judge Judy's voice threads gently into the moment. Fear doesn't excuse the lie, but it explains why you chose it. The mother turns to the judge, tears dripping down her cheeks like confession. I didn't want him to grow up with the pain I lived with. I thought if I protected him, even from the truth, he would be safe. The judge tilts her head. Safe from the truth, or safe from you having to face it? The question is surgical, precise, and it cuts straight to the center of her heart. The mother collapses forward, sobs shaking her entire body. "I was trying so hard," she cries. "I was doing everything alone. I couldn't let anyone else hurt him. So I built our world smaller, quieter, controlled." And when she gestures toward the defendant with a trembling hand, stepped in. I didn't see what she was doing because I was already afraid of losing everything. The courtroom is silent. Even the defendant looks stunned, not by the confession, but by the grief in it. The boy inches forward, just enough to touch his mother's sleeve. A tiny gesture, but it is the first thread of connection since the truth shattered them. Judge Judy watches, letting the moment breathe. Then, quietly but firmly, she says, "It's time for the rest of the truth, ma'am. Does your son want to know who his father really is?" The mother freezes, caught between the past she buried and the future she can no longer hide from. The boy wipes his cheeks with the back of his hand, hesitant, trembling, then nods. Not out of courage, but out of something deeper, a child's need for answers that have lived in the dark too long. The mother inhales sharply, as though the air itself cuts her lungs. She turns toward him, eyes red, swollen, and unbearably honest. "I never wanted you to carry my pain," she whispers. "But keeping secrets only gave you new wounds I never meant to make." The boy holds her gaze, really holds it, and she feels the shift. He isn't asking any more. He's waiting. Judge Judy leans forward slightly, softening her authority just enough for the moment. "Speak to your son," she instructs gently. "Tell him what you couldn't say before." The mother nods, swallowing hard. She clasps her trembling hands together, then slowly releases them, as if letting go of years of clenched fear. "Your father wasn't perfect," she begins. "He was young, confused, overwhelmed. But when he left, he didn't leave you. He left me." Her voice cracks. "And I passed that hurt on to you." The boy's chin quivers, but he doesn't look away. She continues, each word pulled from a deep well of regret. "When he came back, I didn't believe he had changed. I didn't trust it. I didn't want you to get attached and then lose him all over again." Her eyes brim with tears. "So, I shut the door before you ever saw it open." The boy whispers, "Why didn't you tell me he tried?" "Because I didn't want to hope," she admits through a sob. "And I didn't want you to hope either." Judge Judy lets the silence sit, letting truth echo long enough to settle into every heart in the room. Across the courtroom, the defendant sits almost motionless. Her earlier triumph is gone. Even she seems rattled by the raw humanity of the moment. She stares at the mother, not with superiority, but with something close to realization, a recognition that she wasn't the only one acting out of fear, just the one who weaponized it. The mother wipes her face with shaking hands. "Everything I did, everything I hid, I thought I was protecting you," she whispers. "But all I did was build a world too small for the truth." A long pause. Then the boy moves. A small, hesitant shift as he steps closer. His hand reaches out, brushing her sleeve. Not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding, beginning to bloom at the edges of pain. Judge Judy watches the fragile gesture with a quiet nod. "Children can carry truth," she says. "It's lies that break them." The mother exhales a grief-filled breath she has held for years. "Do you want to know more about him?" she asks her son carefully. He hesitates, then nods again, this time with intention. The mother opens her mouth to reveal the final missing piece. But before she speaks, Judge Judy lifts a hand. "One thing first," she says. "How did Miss Carter," she turns toward the defendant, "become involved in this secret at all?" The mother freezes. The defendant stiffens. The courtroom braces for the next revelation. The mother sits frozen. Judge Judy's question hanging in the air like a blade suspended by a fraying thread. The defendant stiffens too, shoulders creeping toward her ears as if trying to hide from a truth she crafted but never planned to answer for. For the first time, neither woman speaks. Judge Judy lets the silence stretch deliberate. Heavy, necessary. "Someone here," she says. Her tone, low and penetrating, took advantage of a wound that did not belong to them. "And I intend to know who held the scalpel." The mother inhales shakily. She overheard me one night." Her voice trembles, but she continues. "I was on the phone with my sister. I was crying. I said I couldn't tell my son the truth about his father, that I didn't know how." The defendant flinches but doesn't interrupt. The mother wipes her cheeks. "The next day, she showed up at my door. She said she could help me manage my life, that she knew how to navigate difficult situations. But she used what she heard, my panic, my shame, to convince me I needed her." Judge Judy nods slowly. "She used your fear to gain access." "Yes," the mother whispers. "Little by little. It was never forceful at first. It felt like guidance, support." She looks down. "But then she started telling me what I should do, then what I had to do. And then I felt like I couldn't do anything without her permission." The defendant's eyes flash with something between regret and defensiveness. "I was trying to help. You were trying to hold power." Judy cuts in sharply. "You carved a place for yourself in a family's private grief and built your identity around being indispensable." The defendant's face crumples, not with anger this time, but with the dawning understanding of her own motivations. I didn't have anyone," she says quietly. "Helping her made me feel needed, important. I didn't know how to let that go." Judge Judy doesn't soften. Needing purpose does not give you the right to control another human being. The room exhales together one long breath that seems to release months, years, maybe decades of pressure. The mother turns to her son, eyes red and full of apology. "I am so sorry," she says softly. "For all of it? For letting someone else step into a space I should have been strong enough to protect, for hiding the truth, for letting fear make decisions for our lives." The boy studies her, struggling through layers of betrayal, love, confusion, and something new, understanding that adults can break under the weight of their own wounds. He swallows. "I just wanted you to tell me," he says quietly. The mother's tears spill again. "I will. From now on, I will." Judge Judy nods, satisfied, then turns her gaze to the defendant, now visibly shaking. "Your consequences will be addressed shortly." She lifts her gavel slightly. "But first," Judy says, "this family needs clarity before it can have justice." The defendant pales. The mother braces, and the boy takes a breath he has been waiting years to take. Before the verdict is spoken, she asks, "Can people truly change? Or do they just learn to hide what hurts them?" The courtroom feels different now, not tense, not electric, but hollow, like the calm after a storm tears through the world. Judge Judy adjusts her glasses. The weight of everything said, everything broken, and everything revealed, settling across the bench like a final truth waiting to be spoken. She looks first at the boy. His cheeks are still damp, his small hands clasped tightly in his lap. But he sits taller than before, rebuilt by honesty, even if it hurt. Judy softens just slightly. "Young man," she says quietly, "you were brave today. Braver than most adults I meet in this courtroom." The boy nods, not proudly, but thoughtfully. He understands now that courage sometimes means asking questions you're not ready to hear the answers to. Judge Judy turns to the mother next. The woman still looks fragile, but her spine is straighter, her gaze clearer. The truth has shaken her, but it has also freed her. "Ma'am," Judy begins, "your choices came from fear, but fear does not justify secrets. Your son deserves the truth, even when you were not ready to give it." The mother nods, tears rising again. But this time, her sob catches on something steadier resolve. You are taking responsibility now. And responsibility is the first step toward healing, Judy continues. Then she shifts her attention to the defendant. The woman who once strutted into the courtroom full of control now looks like a small figure swallowed by her own intentions. Her hands tremble. Her eyes are rimmed with red. Arrogance no longer shields her. Double quotes Ms. Carter. Judy says, voice firm, but not cruel. You exploited another person's vulnerability. You inserted yourself into a family's private suffering not to help, but to control. That is manipulation. That is coercion. And that is absolutely unacceptable. The defendant nods slowly, eyes down, shame finally landing where it belonged all along. Therefore, Judy continues, the forged documents are null and void. Any authority you claimed over this woman or her child is revoked. Your actions will be referred to the appropriate agencies for review. And you are to have no further involvement in this family's decisions or personal affairs. The defendant closes her eyes. Relief and remorse colliding in a painful exhale. Judge Judy turns back to the mother. You will be provided with legal support and counseling services, not as punishment, but as protection for you and your son.